Make sure y'all share that. Facebook.
They ask me who I am. Yeah. They ask me who I am. I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from. I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. When I say Israelite, they say you Jewish. Look, don't be foolish. Come get a dose of this mental renewing. See how we brew it, it's just different. Like, for instance, first thing to know, brother, it's a culture, no religion. Talking the bloodline, they say we Jacob children. And yeah, that's a factor, but what really matter, how we living? Given that we gotta get Beseda, that mean in order. For that we got that Towrah, some brothers we got Basora. Of course, if some don't believe, but that don't matter today. I ain't tryna throw no shade, as long as we all stay in the way. That 613, we coolin' like palm trees. A couple of that, you ain't a fan, know what I mean? They ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from, I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. He said that we the light, got no choice but to shine. By the sweat of your brow, now you see why we grind. How we do, and we move to keep that ruach in our midst. When we eat, I got a list. Wanna build, break out them scripts. We don't hate and we don't diss. We ain't worried about another. He called us his firstborn. You can call us big brother. Look deeper and you'll discover. In your movies and shows, truth been exposed. What you know about those captured and sold. The Igbo and the Ashanti. Check out your history, never lost. Ain't gotta find me. Right where we meant to be, rebellion. Led to expulsion, repentance, fix that. Yeah, I gotta get back. I can call them big facts. They ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from, I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite.
Hey, we ain't saying this our salvation or nothing, but the Most High just put his name on it, so we represent. All praise. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, everyone. Welcome to another segment of YAH Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not YAH Conscience, it is not acceptable. ראשית אנחנו רוצים לתת כבוד ושבח ליהוה האל העליון, אלוהי אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. First, we want to give honor and praise to He that causes to be or exist, the most high power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom, shalom to the panelists, to my co-panelists, to my achayot. How you all doing?
Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom, everybody.
Shalom, everyone. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. We have an interesting one today. Very interesting topics. I think someone who was commenting has said that, what did he say? I forgot what he said. It's a lot of, like a rabbit hole. A lot of.
Yeah. What he said? Loaded questions.
A lot of loaded questions. But it is some good topics. So, the title of today is it's a thin line between love and fake. It's a thin line between love and fake, man. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started, you all. So the I guess the umbrella to these questions is the Black Manosphere. That's the first specific topic right now. The Black Manosphere. Anybody? Is everyone familiar with the Manosphere on the platform right now? Everyone familiar with them? I'm familiar with the Black Manosphere.
Elaborate.
So, it is basically a group of men, so-called Black men, that voice different matters pertaining to things dealing with men and women. The things pertaining to things that might be unfair to men, unfair to them in regards to relationships, unfair to them probably in regards to just society in general. But it's basically because years ago we didn't really have platforms that really spoke out and supported and defended men per se, like on a large scale. So now, as of late, I don't know how long it's been around. Maybe Chief can elaborate on it, but I just got wind of it probably within the last year or so, couple years. So I don't know if it's been around for 5 or 6. If it was my guess, I would say a couple years to a few years. Chief, what you got on that? You have any history or knowledge on?
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is that we're only hearing about well, when I say we, I mean just generally we're only hearing about the Black Manosphere, Manosphere generally, but Black Manosphere specifically. We've only heard about it in the last maybe 2-3 years, really. But the Black Manosphere has actually been online since the internet age started. So you're talking 1998, 1999, 2000.
Oh wow.
It's been around. Of course it took on different names over time. Nowadays people are calling it Red Pill.
Right.
So yeah, it's a movement, and I'm not gonna tip the situation now because we want to kind of delve into it in the questions. But the Black Manosphere is it's a loosely knit group of Black men who have varying positions on Black man and woman relationships, economics, because it ain't just about relationships. The Black Manosphere deals mostly with Black men improvement. We often, if you actually go further back into some of the Black Manosphere, the main players in the Black Manosphere, like the Kevin Samuels, even before he was known, like 2 years ago, he was always about Black men taking responsibility, saying that, listen, if you're saying you're a man and you're a man of value, then you need to step your game up. Do not go to a woman wasting her time until your situation is right and exact. Get your money up, get your manhood up, raise your bar here. Then when you go to deal with these women, then, and so that was that was the Black Manosphere message early on. In the last couple of years, it has taken a different, route, and now they're addressing the women now. And that's when it went mainstream. So no, the Black Manosphere has been around for the better part of 20 years, at least on the internet age. Who knows what happened prior to the internet? But yeah.
All right. Anyone have anything to say in regards to what Chief Prince brought out?
Towrah.
All right. So let's go into the questions. So is it helping or hurting the Black community? Let's start with that one. Is the Black Manosphere helping with the knowledge that you got from Chief Prince bringing it out? Because I guess you're not too familiar with it, better Kathy. I'm not sure about Acho Sharon if she's familiar with it like that. But is it helping or hurting the Black community? Is it helping or hurting the Hebrew community? And lastly, is it the male version of feminism? So is it helping or hurting the Black community? Is it helping or hurting the Hebrew community? And is it the male version of feminism? Chief Prince, can you kick it off for us?
Yeah. And I guess at this point, because I don't know to what extent the sisters' knowledge base on Black Manosphere and all that. I don't know where it's at, so I don't want to just assume or whatever. But the term Black Manosphere, we're hearing about the term like this. It's like it sounds like it's a new term, but basically, it's just men online saying, "Hey, listen, okay, women have been allowed to have their standards of what they're looking for in men, and historically women have held men to a certain certain criteria that if you don't meet this criteria, this that and the third, then you don't need to be approaching me in a relationship. If your money ain't right, if you ain't got a car, if you ain't got a house, if you ain't got this that, then why are you in my face?" And that's been the general approach of Black women. And I'm speaking about Black women specifically because the women outside of our people is of no consequence to us. Actually, they'll deal with their issues when they deal with them. But as far as us, this is how the narrative that we've heard from Black women. We've seen the movies. All of the standard, the Waiting to Exhales and the those type of movies where the Black man, he ain't nothing, yada yada. We've heard these things. Well, basically, with the rise of the Black Manosphere is actually asking the very same questions and are coming with the same exact criteria that Black women have brought to the table, and saying, well, everything that you said about Black men is absolutely true. We need to get our crap together. I'm gonna try to keep it clean here. You're right. We need to get our crap together. We need to focus on our careers and get our money right, get our, start, producing generational wealth and all of these different things. Yes, we got to get our act together. So we concede to the demands of the Black women. Okay, no doubt. Black men are saying, well, now let's hear our demands. Let's hear our requirements of what we expect women to bring to the table. Because we, for the past 40, 50 years, we know what we're told to bring to the table. And they're absolutely correct. But now let's talk about what women are supposed to bring to the table, Black women specifically. And this is where you start seeing a lot of the kickback over the past 2 years we've seen online. This is when you start hearing about the gender wars now. Because men are saying, Black women, you're absolutely correct in your assessment about Black men and what you expect from Black men. You're right. The only men who don't agree with that are simps. Only simps believe that Black men should not step their game up and be the best possible man for their women. Only simps believe that. You know what I'm saying? Men are like, no, you're absolutely right. But now you want a high quality man, you're entitled to have that. But the high quality men are also entitled to have high quality women. And in order to have a high quality woman, that woman is going to have to go down this checklist that Black men have put on the table and say, now, do you fit this criteria? And if not, then no, we're good. We don't really want to deal with you. And this is where the contention has began, because Black women have not historically they have not been held to any real criteria. Black women have given all of these different criteria that men are supposed to follow, and men are pretty much and I guess we can kind of blame Black men for this as well, because we have allowed ourselves to be reduced to what? Well, hey, listen, as long as she gives me some of that thing, what I'm saying, 2 or 3 times a week, and as long as she cooks, just fills up my belly, I'm good. Like, yeah, that sounds like a barbarian. Have sex with me and give me food, woman. Like, that's not only the only thing that men want in a relationship, or what men want in friendships and all of these different things. Like, there's a whole lot more. And it's only the simps, it's only the beta males who have been pushing the narrative of allowing men to be, to only require women to fulfill very small criteria.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So-called alpha men and sigma men are the type of men that are like, no, if we're going to raise the bar, if the women are going to require that they raise the bar with the men, you're absolutely correct. Men have been slacking. You're right. Now, with that understood, now the women have to raise their bar because you've been slacking. That's the gist of the Black Manosphere narrative. Now, of course, there are some extremes in the Black Manosphere. You have some of them that are reasonable that you be like, okay, yeah, I can listen to them, and some of them are just a little, little out there, a little disrespectful, or whatever the case may be. But generally speaking, that's what the Black Manosphere has been bringing to the table. And so this is what spurred my question of, is it helping or hurting the Black community? Because this has been the narrative of the average Black women that are online, that on Facebook and other platforms. They believe that it is hurting the Black community, and so that's the question: is it really hurting the community? Yes or no?
Okay.
So now, with that said, because I just wanted to give some background context before I give my position on it. I'm going to say that it's not hurting the Black community or the Hebrew community, for that matter. And I'm going to try to condense both questions into one to kind of save time. I don't think it's hurting the community at all, because my question that I would ask, and I actually asked somebody on YouTube on one of the this Black Manosphere video that I was indulging in with some people, and I asked the question. They were like, well, the women, they feel like the movement is attacking them and it's hurting the interaction between the man and the woman. And I'm like, well, let's look at it this way. Prior to the mainstream rise of the Black Manosphere, prior to that, was relationships between Black men and Black women, or Hebrew men and Hebrew women, were they in good condition? Now, if these relationships were in good condition, if we go back on Facebook and we go to our memories, how every day you get your little notification for your memories?
Yeah.
And we go back on Facebook and you go and look at these conversations that we've been having for the better part of 10, 11 years, or at least since I've been on Facebook. I've been on Facebook since 2009. And we go back and we check these posts, you'll see that Black men and Black women are, they are involved in atrocious relationships.
Okay.
And it has spilled over to Hebrew men and Hebrew women.
Big time.
And so let's not pretend that, that all of a sudden the Black Manosphere, becomes mainstream and now, it's harming the community. No, what's happening is Black women have basically, when you look at the culture in America with Black women have enjoyed carte blanche. Black women have been allowed to pretty much get away with whatever. When you see a sassy Black woman, popping her neck and doing all of that, whatever the case, Black women have never been chin checked about that. What do people usually say? No, that's just a strong woman. She's expressing herself, and if you were a real man, you would accept it. This is the narrative. So Black women have never really been chin checked. White men are not checking Black women. They're not telling Black women, hey, you need to. White men don't want no parts. White women don't want no parts, and Black men, because they live with Black women, they're like, I don't want to argue with it because I'm going to lose this argument. So Black women have always been in a situation where they can pretty much say what they want to say, whether it's good or bad. They can say what they want to say. They can pretty much do what they want to do, and we actually celebrate even the dysfunction in Black women. We celebrate the dysfunction when you tell a woman, hey, you're quite overweight. You're 100 pounds overweight, man. Whatever the case. What do we hear people say? No, don't body shame. In other words, you can't say anything. But women have been critiquing Black men profusely, and Black men have accepted it and said, well, what are you going to do about it? So this is the hurting aspect of this whole Black Manosphere thing. I don't think it's hurting the Black community. What I think is that it's kind of exposing a double standard in the Black community, and it's a double standard that Black women, and I'm not saying this as if Black women are necessarily wrong, but many Black women, and even good intentioned Black women, they've been able to enjoy the benefits of the double standard. And the double standard is Black men are held to very high standards, and Black women, you have to accept them as they are. And there are Black women who are in the Black manosphere who actually say that. I can actually show you the screenshots of Black women that are like that. Black men need to accept us as we are. We ain't changing for nobody. But you know what I'm saying? But we're not given that, we're not afforded that same courtesy and things of that nature. So this is where I think where the disconnect is happening with the Black community, and it's spilling over to the Hebrew community because Hebrew men are pretty much asking for the same thing that Black women have been asking for. Hey, listen, if I'm bringing X, Y, Z to the table, then you should bring the very same thing to the table. What's the problem? So, like I said, I'm going to close that one for now, and we can kind of build off of it going forward.
Okay. Any of the Nashim want to step in and speak any words on it, on the topic? Good, better Kathy or Akho Sharon?
I would have to agree with Chief. I don't think it's helping. I don't think it's helping nor hurting the Black community or the Hebrew community per se. I don't know. I think it's fair game, honestly. The reason why I say that, hello.
Okay, we can hear you.
It almost kind of seemed like Black men are just tired of the one-sided expectations. This kind of reminds me of Kevin Samuels. I don't really, I haven't really been, watching his videos, honestly, but the videos that I have watched, I'm not sure if he promoting masculinity, but he do have a strong opposition to feminism. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's fair game. We can't expect to have expectations without the reciprocation. Mm-hmm. It's so, this is a touchy subject because I've been my entire time on Facebook, I've noticed that I've been called pick me, and a pick me is a woman who pretty much hold her fellow sister accountable, and that's what I do. I hold Black women accountable, and that doesn't mean I don't hold Black men accountable. But I feel like with me being a woman, most of my priorities is to Black women. As if Black men need to uphold other Black men. Black women should do the same with their own kind. And it's kind of disturbing to see the double standards. And I
think you broke up. You still there? Hello? All right, till you come. Oh, we hear you now. Go ahead. Hello?
Oh, right. Shalom, can y'all hear me?
Okay, we can hear you.
Yeah, so when I did some studying on the manosphere, it's basically like how Facebook is being ran. It seemed like everyone is pointing a finger. Don't nobody want to be held accountable. Don't nobody want to sit and really listen to both sides of what the Black women want, the expectations of the Black women and the expectations of the Black men. Chief said something earlier about weight, about the about like gaining weight or something, and I've noticed that if a woman is pretty much overweight, they expect for Black men to still consider her to be a preference to be with. Where if a Black man is overweight, then those expectations is not held to the same standard.
I agree.
So my honest opinion, I don't think it's neither or. I don't think it's hurting nor helping. I feel like it seems like the black man is just kind of like tired of the one-sided expectations or the one-sided
Okay.
iPhones.
And iPhones. He gonna say iPhone. All right, so I'm gonna come in. For those that's tuned in, this is YAH Conscience Radio. If it's not YAH Conscience, it's not acceptable. Make sure that you go on our YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't. I see it's a few people watching. If you are one of those people watching and you're listening right now, I need you to click that link or go into the search box of YouTube and put YAH Conscience, not conscious, but Conscience Radio, and subscribe. I'm gonna go ahead, and she came back on. I heard Sharon, did you want to continue or you wanted me to go ahead and continue?
King Sleeper. But to go back to the origin of feminism, the feminine movement is it was basically for like just equality. Equality for women all across the board. It kind of like evolved into something else over the years.
Okay.
So it's like, how did it go from? But actually, the involvement of equality over the years, it still does have some type of notation that women want to be equal, but don't really want to be equal. If it makes any sense.
That makes
sense. Perfect. That makes perfect sense. That's Don't
want the backlash that comes with that equal the sense of what.
But little do our women know that in order to obtain equality, it comes with a lot of groundwork, and they don't want to do the groundwork behind equality, behind the attributes and behind the conditions of equality.
Okay.
Right. You know. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. No, go ahead, Chief.
Go ahead. You got it. I'll come after you. You got it.
Oh no. I was just gonna say just in reference to Sharon, Guerrero Sharon's statement earlier about Kevin Samuels, because he is at this point he's probably the face of the Black Manosphere at this point. Just from sheer numbers. I mean, he has well over 1 million subscribers and things of that nature. He's that guy, right? For that, for this moment. Interestingly enough, when I started to say that again?
No, I think I know what you're about to say. I just put the number up. Go ahead.
Right. And what's interesting about Kevin Samuels, because I've heard different people's. I've heard women speak about him. I've heard men speak about him. And my thing has always been that I can't say nay or yay to anything until I investigate. Towrah tells us to diligently, research a matter. Diligently.
Yes, it does.
So with that said, I had, about maybe like a year and a half ago, I went on a trek of going through his entire catalog of videos. And I actually finished. He has hundreds of videos, like well over 100-something videos. And I think as of maybe 2 weeks ago, I actually am now update. I started from the very beginning, and from his very first videos when he was just advertising different colognes for men and stuff like that, all the way up to stuff now. And so now when I make an assessment about Kevin Samuels, now it's like, okay, I can see where where the good stuff, the bad stuff, all of the stuff that everybody's been talking about. And what I realized with Kevin Samuels is that one of the things that he made very clear on many occasions is that he actually supports feminism. But what was very interesting about it, he said, I support women's right to seek equality. He says, I have absolutely no problem with that. Seek the equality. He said, but understand that with that equality, just like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So if you're, and this is and that's his platform. Like my platform in that, because I agree with him only to a certain degree with that. And that is that, first of all, feminism never had anything to do with black women.
Thank you. I was about to say, you took it out by my mouth.
Yeah, correct.
Because that is a white woman's narrative, and she has listen. As a student of history, I know how the white man in this country has been treating white women 100 years ago.
Okay.
Flipping horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to think about it. If you're a white woman, think about in slavery. If you're a white woman and you're married to this slave owner, and you're supposed to be the woman he loves you, whatever like that, and he will not sleep with you, will not get you pregnant, has no whatever like that, but he will creep out into the shack and have sex with a slave woman who he believes is an animal.
How does that make you feel?
You gotta think, how does the white woman feel that he would rather sleep with a black beast than her? And so the white woman has always had
wait. Before you continue, before somebody make a clip of this video, I need you to let them know the context of what you just said.
Oh, with the black beast?
Prince said the women of the black women of the black beast. We ain't trying to have that.
No, that's what because this is, of course, during chattel slavery, this is what they viewed black people as. You were beasts, you were animals, you were actually lower than the other beasts of the field. You were lower than the donkey. You were lower than all of these things. So there was so the white woman has a very peculiar hatred to black women because they're trying to understand, how is it that even in a black woman's lowest possible state, can she still get my husband?
Boom.
So she's always had an issue with black women. Black women have never had issues historically with their men, because you go back into the 1950s, you always hear people say, oh, you want to step back into the 50s. Well, look into the 1950s of the black man and black woman relationships, and what you find is that the divorce rate in 1952, the divorce rate among black men and black women was less than 4%. Now, some different sites,
Chief, you know they're gonna say, well, because they didn't have the intellect that our women have today, and blah 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 blah.
Right? No, absolutely. But again, if equality is what we're talking about, the question that, and this is not me posing, this has been posed by Shahrazad Ali, for all people online for years have been asking this question. If black women have been historically fighting for equality with the black man, the question is at what point in time in American history was the black man ever in a superior position to black women? Black men have never out-earned black women. When was this happening? During when you think about Jim Crow era, the black woman, the standard black woman job at that time was scrubbing the floors for men. You know what I'm saying? For a white woman, and what was the black man's job? The black man, he was a butler. He was, you know what I'm saying, a sharecropping, working for pennies in order to support his family. Black people did not have these issues. Black men and black women did not have these issues with each other in the 1950s and the 40s and the 30s, because we were unified, because we were both getting screwed across the board. So we knew that and that's why those marriages back then, they lasted, because we knew, both of us knew who the enemy was. The white woman came in, and in order to make her platform more palatable,
get the numbers up.
She had to get the numbers up. You know what I'm saying? And what did she do? The white women went and tapped into an untappable source of women, and that was the black women. That's why when you look at the 1960s with the freedom movement, they changed it from the freedom movement to what? Civil rights movement. And she convinced black women that, hey, you need to get from under the boot of your man. And most women at that time were kind of resistant, because they're like, well, when did our men have their boots on us? Like, historically, you can't find a time in American history in which black men were over the black woman. In fact, on a plantation, who had more value, the black woman or the black man?
I want to jump in real quick. on your thought real quick, and then I'll pass back on to you all. Or I can go ahead and answer the question. It's funny that you brought that out with the feminism, and I'm with you and I Coach Sharon. People don't know as many. It's a few phases to feminism, but the first one was initially mainly for white. But what's interesting is this. I'm gonna bring some literature in. I'm going off the top of my head, so for those that's listening, I'm not the one for you to be like, well, you're not throwing the scripture in there. What's the verse? What's the chapter? Look, man, the men of old, women of old, they knew just to quote it. If you're a New Testament believer, it ain't gonna say in the book of Leviticus or in the book of Deuteronomy, it's gonna say it is written. Am I wrong or am I right? And then if you are someone that's just to knock, you're gonna understand how the men move. So that's what I'm doing right now. But we're talking about feminism, and then we talk how it shifted over, to our women, right? It reminds me of when the Most High told us not to basically take on the customs of these other individuals, these people, right? And then we would sit up here and we would do worse than them. Let me say that again. We would take on what they did. All the Maureen that's listening, I see some people in here that's Mistrays and Mores or Maureens. Tell me if I'm lying. We would sit up here and take on the ways of the people outside of us. He told us not to. And then we would do worse than them. That's what happened with the feminism movement. It started with a group, and then we end up doing worse than them. And the ones that end up getting hurt the most, I'm not going to say the men. I'm not going to say the women, because I'm writing a book right now. I ain't going to tell y'all the title, but those that know me know the title. Those on the platform do know the title. I'm putting it across the board on both. But the issue is, even what Gabetta Sharon was bringing out, we going in a circle. We don't want to bring accountability and place it on the subject. So we have this back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
We have the back and forth. So for me to answer the question real quick, the question is it helping or hurting the Black community? Is it helping or hurting the Hebrew community? I would say I might be a little different than Gabetta Sharon, but I'm with her on her point. I'm with her 100% actually, because it's always a small group of people that these things are helping. I've learned that not even just in our literature and our scripture, that it was a remnant of a remnant, but even outside, just in the world, what are you Muslim? What are you atheist? What are you whatever? Dealing with any of these subjects is always a small amount of people that's fighting to do it properly. But those little individuals that's doing it properly, it makes an effect on the majority, even though the majority is overwhelming. So you have, is it helping? I think it is helping. I think it's helping because for so long we weren't voicing. So now what it's going to do is by us voicing, and we have young women and men watching, and then we have young women that's seeing their aunties, grandmas, cousins that's older than them, their mothers that are still single, not married. But then they see this wave or this manosphere that's been around forever, but now is very popular going on, and they're getting into the ideas and the minds of the men and wise men, older men that's sitting up here bringing stuff out. They're like, okay, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this. Now you got those that's going to fight the majority, but you're going to have the remnant of the remnant that's paying attention. And that's going to pass on to our children. So I think it is helping. It seems like it's a backlash from it, but I hear a lot more men and a lot more women as well that's agreeing with it. That's starting to move down the direction that Gabetta Sharon is when she is looked at as a pick-me. I don't like when people use that term. Why? Because she's saying what it is on both ends, and I vouch for her. I see her talk about men and women. So, for those that's watching, just in case you was wondering if she's telling the truth or not, I've seen it, so I think it is helping. I think that now, to go back on what Chief was talking about, it started off being, men, let's build, get your money right. I mean, I wish I was watching the Manosphere when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting myself together within the last 10 years. I'll be 38 in July. This show is transparent. Ain't that right, Gabetta Catherine? We be transparent on this bad boy. So You know, I wish it was around back then. But the thing that's the shift that's happening right now is the same thing that's happening within the Hebrew community. Y'all see how this thing is full circle? This is what's happening. Back then we had camps and all that stuff. A lot of people don't like camps. It's okay, I get it. But some camps provide structure. It provides people to learn accountability and things of that nature, right? You get the essence of how things started and how it began. So everything is not wrong, but it is on a large scale being looked at as such. What am I trying to say? Now you have the manosphere turning into a male version of the modern feminists. You have a lot of men that's seeing what wise men are speaking of on how to move or saying certain things about things pertaining to how women might treat men. And they're taking sound bites, just like us in the truth. We take sound bites of scripture and we create a doctrine, a doctrine that's not sound. So now you got men today that's loving the manosphere, that's not being taught how to navigate a day-to-day, but they're hearing certain points and they're picking what they're liking within the certain points, and now they're attacking women because they have not corrected themselves with their mental, how they react off of different situations. So it's getting a bad name because of those that's watching now, not from the foundation or the source. It's kind of like a knife was created to cut meat and all that stuff, but you got people stabbing and killing. That wasn't the purpose of the knife. The manosphere was not the purpose to turn into a male version of feminists. So is it helping? Yes. Has it turned into a male version of feminism? It looks like it could be doing that, but I still salute to the man that's out there that's doing the job. And that's my take on it. I'm going to pass the mic to Better Kathy. Before I do that, those that's tuning in, we got more people. Please make sure you go to our channel, subscribe. This is YAH Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not YAH Conscience, it's not acceptable. Better Kathy, I pass the mic to you.
Wow. You're going to take rabbit hole.
Dang.
I honestly agree with everyone that's spoken thus far, and I was taking a lot of notes because everyone gave me a different insight. I mean, that's why I asked you to elaborate, because like you said, everyone has their different opinion of what it is. And I have a little joke, you know, especially with you guys describing in your opinion what it is. But I think manosphere was there before manosphere. I'm a mother of 2 men. I sat down and told my sons, or at least tried to explain to them, that it's okay to have a certain caliber of woman, that what you see on videos or what you see in the clubs or what you see in the street, is it really what you want? Okay. You know, it's like a bike. You excited to ride it and you purchase it, ride it, you know, but it gets old after a while. What other value is it going to present to you? So I just want to make that point. And the other thing, it also sounds like to me is like, again, I think it's perfect. I think it's great because, again, I think it's giving a lot of these young men and older men a broader perspective of quality, again, versus what they see on TV or streets or what have you. But it also seems like a lot of men, and correct me if I'm right or wrong, this is my opinion, they love mama. Mm-hmm. But don't want mama, all of mama. They want, like Chief said, the qualities of mama can cook, mama can keep the house clean. But let's be realistic about how many mamas was loudmouth, you know, and didn't care to came out with the bonnet on their head or whatever the case may be. We all dealt with that before. Okay. And then you go to the girls that don't want to be their mama, but they love their daddy. Mm-hmm. It's I don't know, and I get it, but again, maybe I came up in an era or a household where, you know, I don't know. It's true. Both of them, I know my father made less than my mother did, but that wasn't something that was discussed. That wasn't something that you could tell by the way they moved with each other. Mm. And when they accomplished things together. And honestly, that was my struggle being brought up by my grandparents because of my age frame. Seeing them move, like I said weeks ago, on a motorcycle together versus my peers' parents moving to a totally different beat. Even though my grandparents had their issue, I wanted what they had. That seemed more healthy than seeing Joe and Bob beat each other up down the street. So I get it. I get it, but I just think, depending on how you were brought up, I think there's a lot of moms and dads out there that want the best for their children. They strive hard to let them know you may want that woman with that degree. You have a degree.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it should be an option both ways.
But what's interesting is that when you historically, again, it's really just based on math, simple mathematics. 50, 60, 70 years ago, the object was to get to 10. Now, if I say 5 plus 5 is 10, you'll agree. But if I said 5 plus 5 is the only way you can get to 10, would that be true? No. 8 plus 2 is 10. The problem is that in those times, neither spouse had a problem with what number they represented.
Come on, man.
If one brought an 8, they did not look at it like, well, I'm bringing the 8. It's like, oh God, I got an 8, but guess what? I still don't have the other 2 to make 10. I'm lacking. What do you have? The husband might be like, well, listen, you know how the white man is. He got his foot on my neck, but I got a 2. Cool. 8 plus 2, 10. We're succeeding. We're getting it in.
Man.
Or it could be him with a 9 and her with the 1. Or it could be 6 plus 4. Or it could be 7 plus 3. And there's so many different ways. And this is how our people looked at it that way. They would listen. They're sharecroppers. They knew who the enemy was. So therefore, they're like, listen, we're not fighting each other. You do what you got to do. If you got to go to the damn white woman's house and scrub their floors, fine. I'm going to be over here doing the same thing over here, scrubbing this and cleaning this, whatever like that. But at the end of the day, we are bringing what we have individually to the table, and it's going to solve our problems. But the issue has been, once white women's lib has asserted, they have basically told black women, listen, don't bring nothing to the collective table. No, you bring whatever you have, bring it to your table.
Okay.
Your table is what's important. His table, really not an issue. Get your table right. And so, and mind you, the white man propaganda came up in the black man's head, because now, so the black man is thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, let me go do my thing. I'm doing me. She's doing her. So now, when you get two individualites.
See, it don't only apply to Israelites. It's just a general, right?
When you get two individualites who come to the table, they're not looking at the collective anymore. They're looking at, the one who's bringing 8 to the table. They're not looking at the fact that they have 8 and they're still incomplete. They're looking at your 2 and saying, you are not bringing 10. And it's like, well, neither are you. And so what the women's lib movement has done, it has created this back and forth kind of like war dance, you know what I'm saying, between the male and the female, the black male and the female. And so the so-called Black Manosphere has become what? It has become a response to 60 years of feminism.
Facts. I believe so. Anyway.
I mean, and again, this is not to say that feminism doesn't have what I would refer to as correct talking points. I think that there's very important portions of the quote unquote feminist rhetoric that is valid. But the question has been, are they valid with black women? Black women don't have the same struggles as white women.
Okay.
And I just want to say that, and this is the reason why the Black Manosphere was born, because before the Black Manosphere, you had the Manosphere, which was really white men taking issue with white women. And black men were like, well, we ain't got the same issues you got, dude. So we're going to separate ourselves from your rhetoric, come over here, and deal with black issues, because what y'all talking about, that ain't got nothing to do with us. That's your problems with your woman. And so the Black Manosphere was born out of the need to separate from the white, the white doctrines and angles or whatever like that, because we understood that we did not move the same way as they. So it's a lot, but we're going to go a little further with it after the chief man here.
Yeah. We're gonna take this break. You know, it was getting real nice, man. So we got a little, excited. But I love it, man. This is amazing. I think that you all need to make sure you all pass this information, share this page, share this YouTube channel, because I see some of the platforms that speak on it. But what I love about this one is we'll try to be balanced. You know what I'm saying? In the house of balance. You know what I'm saying? We want to be that way. YAH Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not YAH Conscience, it's not acceptable. First song of this evening is by Morad Maccabee, and it is one of my favorite songs. No Pressure.
They don't want to see me make it. They just want to see me aching. I ain't folding, I ain't breaking. No pressure. It ain't no pressure to me. No pressure. It ain't no pressure to me. No pressure.
Featuring Morad Ethan. I forgot to say that.
It ain't no pressure to me.
Yeah, who the gang? April 2nd.
Weight on my shoulders, back against the wall. I gotta show my sons the way that they should walk and make a way. I gotta make a way. I keep the heater. It ain't nowhere safe to stay. Pray for me. Somebody pray for me. I chose my walk. I'm gonna stick to it faithfully. Bossing up. They say I've been bossing, saucing up. I've been down too long. And just ain't the way for me. Switch it up. I had to switch up an opportunity. They caught me and I pick up. I fell down so many times. I had to get up. Regardless of how tough it get, I won't give up. I went searching for the light. I got lit up. I'm on top of Mount Sinai. With my chin up, I'm learning how to fly. I had to get rid of the talkers. I'm with the walkers in the sprinter. No pressure to me, no resting for me. I'm being me, who you destined to be. I woke up, yeah, that's a blessing to me. If I take a loss, that's a lesson to me. Progression, I keep a guessing. I've been on go in a recession. I've been 100 since an adolescent. My son is my antidepressant. I ain't about the present. I'm going back to the east. What's a holiday? Going back to the feast. It's a cold war. I'm going back to the heat. If I go to war, I'm coming back with peace. Silverback going be straight up gorilla mode. You couldn't stop me when I was not in my zone. You can't break me like I made of silicone. Walking on water, boy, you cannot swim alone. Me floats to sit up on, I'm on another level. You can't stop me, my foot stay up on the pedal. When Yahweh made me, boy, he made me special. Adding faith with the work or made me successful. Nigga, take a look. When I'm willing to sacrifice, ain't no measure. Got my guard up for devils, cause they gon' test you. I've been feeling the pain, now I feel the pressure. Got into it with the higher power, no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. It ain't no pressure to me. No pressure.
No pressure, no pressure, no pressure.
It ain't no pressure to me.
No pressure,
no pressure, no pressure. No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah. Full flow, no build up. I'm in motion like Mayim. Look at me. It took me a while, had to look and see all the brighter days right in front of me. The picture's more clearer, don't hand me no mirror. I look through the glasses, my vision is purer in HD. I search for the truth and you hate me? That's so fake, G. I need better there. Shalom, leka, ali loro, selene keshan. Be'ata aki, anaku, mispaka, we akim bashim, shel Abraham. They want us divided, we stay at each other, but we say we building a nation. But where is the builders? Cause everyone's waiting, no initiative, just procrastination. The government want me to be in rotation, but I can't clock in cause I ain't got the patience. My time is too precious to waste on plantations. I depend on Yahuwah, that's my salvation. Elevation come with meditation, hella dedication. Towrah, that's my destination. Have to change my mind, reset my calibration. Check my calculations, yeah, it's looking gravy. I don't see through the eyes of the victimized. I really concur, let's find who you despise. Let's focus on crashing the system, repairing the minds of our people, no compromise. In the fast lane, with my foot on the pedal, I'm mashing gas. They think that they the first and say we the last. When I breeze past, ain't no need to laugh. You can't apply no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. It ain't no pressure to me.
No
pressure. It ain't no pressure to me.
No pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No.
It ain't no pressure to me. No pressure.
It ain't no pressure to me. All right, that was more Maccabee. No Pressure featuring more Ethan. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get to the next topic. Those that's tuning in, this is YAH Conscience Radio, where if it's not YAH Conscience, it is unacceptable. If you haven't already, make sure you go to YouTube, type in YAH Conscience Radio, and subscribe. When we get our 100 subscribers, we'll be able to just give you the actual URL. So go ahead. We need 24 more subscribers. So please, those that's tuning in, share what you're watching right now. Share it to your people on your Facebook page. Tell them to subscribe to the channel, man. We're going to be bringing a lot of good topics out. Great music. Of course, Miss Ray Memo, you know it's great music because it's your Hootie Gang. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and go to shameless plug. This was interesting, man. This is gonna be a tough one right here, you all. I just want you all to know because I have a certain outlook on this topic, and I think, man, Chief, when you brought this out, I'm like, man, boy. So anyway, what is friendship, you all? Before we get into the actual questions, what is friendship to you all? Before we get into it, because it is specific questions for this, but I want to know, what is friendship? Just off the top, before you even go into it. Pass the mic to anyone that want to start.
Uh,
I know it was kind of a broad question. I know you very
it
detailed.
is. It's very
You
broad.
maybe,
When I hear the word friendship,
Good comment, by the way. So what we'll do, because I know how we all be thinking. We want to be have specific questions, but I got to throw a wrench in there to you all. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give you the first question. Good bad, Sharon. I'm gonna give you the first question. All right, let me get to it. Hold on, let me take this down. Let's bring up the first question. We're gonna ask you the first question. All right, so what actually said the same thing I asked, basically. How do we define a friend? All right, so we're gonna keep going. Are there significant differences between the biblical and the modern understanding? Let's start there. How do we define a friend? Are there significant differences between the biblical and the modern understanding? That's a loaded question. For real.
I don't I don't think it's too different from a biblical and a modern understanding. Because both ways you have to prove a friend first. The biblical understanding will tell you to prove a friend first, and be not hasty to credit. That's in Ecclesiastic chapter 6, verse 7.
She hit you with
I got it.
Hey, y'all better not come at our Coach Sharon, man. You know what I'm saying? You got her scriptures.
I think, okay, well, it's no other way for me to not get personal about this, because me and my sister Kathy, we often talk a lot, and I feel like I'm a person who can't keep friends. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I'm a person
can
who
or can't.
Say it again.
You said can or can't?
Can't.
Can't. Okay, gotcha.
Because I have a lot of expectations and a lot of reciprocations that I can do that a lot of people just don't understand. A lot of people don't have a lot of moral codes or a lot of standards to kind of like reciprocate my expectations. So it's kind of hard for me to sustain a friendship where they don't have the same reciprocal moral codes, or they don't abide by the same reciprocation factors and the same expectations that I know that I can deliver on my end. Yeah, this is very touchy. And don't get me wrong, you know, like I still have friends from high school from 10 years, 12 years ago. I recently just ended a 16-year friendship because
wow.
I felt like the friendship wasn't no longer serving the whole picture together. And let me get more in depth with that. Whenever I mean, and we all been there before. We all been in the same boat as far as whenever someone calls you, whenever someone call me, I'm there, drop of a dime.
Man, I know that feeling.
And I started to notice that whenever it was my turn, or whenever when I needed someone, you know, everyone go cricket, everyone goes, you know, everyone are not able to deliver the same way. With me in my friendships, I'm all about balance. I'm all about reciprocation. If I feel that it's no balance, and if I feel that it's no reciprocation, then the scales are in balance. It's no
It's not the iPhones, Chief. Stop. Before you say it, it's not the
Oh no,
iPhone.
no. Far be it from me. Far be it from me.
yes, because I don't know
He got
why
on
my
you when it happened.
calls and this mic keep
Yeah.
dropping. But
Oh,
I've also had to take accountability because I was a person who did not prove a person first.
mhm.
I was a person who kind of like, you know, I'm outgoing. I'm naturally outgoing. I'm naturally giving. I'm naturally a people's person. I'm a naturally social person. So sometimes that can be dangerous because people can use that. Jeez, shalom.
We hear you. We hear you. You still there?
Yeah. So I had to take a step back and I had to reflect on me as a person and why I can't keep really friendships, and why do people feel the need to exhaust me for only certain attributes about myself in friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed, I was like, you know what, I don't give people the chance. I don't prove people first. I don't. I kind of like look at it from a social being a people's person in a social aspect, and I'm like, yeah, that person cool, you know, but you can't say a person cool off rip from what they show you on the surface. So this is why another reason why you have to inquire diligently and search out the matter. It can go for friendships as well. It can go for people as well. You have to really diligently search out who people are. That's a part of proving a person first and foremost. So it's how do I define a friend? I define a friend who can bring about the same amount of expectations and the same amount of balance that I know that I can deliver.
Mm. Okay. All right. I'm gonna come in, tell y'all my thoughts because Chief Prince brought out some other questions after this, so I'm gonna try to keep it light and just start here. But what is friendship for me? What is friendship for me? Um, Let me go to it. Say, how do you define a friend? Are there significant differences between the biblical and the modern understanding? I say there are. If we're literally speaking biblically versus modern, I'm trying to be very careful with my words because we have people today that believe we're operating biblically or they're operating biblically, and they are missing the cultural standpoint. Back then, and this is just from my studies. No, I wasn't born back then. For those that's listening, because some people be like, "How do huh, huh." I just got to touch base on everything. Y'all know how I am. Um, it was a moral code. I think Gabetta Sharon brought that out, but it was being a man of your word, integrity. Your word was everything. Contracts were involved back then, but for the most part, people went off a person's word. From what I know, Chief Prince is a historian, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I will refrain. But from what I know, especially through our literature, your name was very important. The Most High's name is very important. Your word is very important. Today, how many friends y'all know y'all got that say, "Oh, my mama," and then they was lying?
Lying all day.
That's another thing too. Like we have to distinguish the difference between what's a friend and what's an associate.
Right. So when it says is it significant or biblically modern, I believe it is. I believe what Gabriel Sharon was bringing out was very important. I think a lot of us really quickly be like, oh, that's my friend. I got to correct my daughter quickly a lot. I know people be like, well, she young, she's 13. No, I need her to understand that even grown-ups do this. We're like, that's my friend. I just knew him for a week. Prove him. Like she brought out the scripture, and there's a lot in Sirach that speaks on it too. And look at the consistency. I think that biblically is really expressed on really being, I think, who says this a lot? I just thought about it. Sion or Zion Lex, I think. He says meticulous, right? Isn't that a word he uses a lot? You got to be very meticulous. It's not a shot. I love the word. When I heard him say it the first time, I'm like, I never heard of that word before. And I'm a grown man. But you got to be very meticulous with your friend selection. Pay attention to them. I think in modern day, it's not as it's not a top tier when it comes to things that we want to do because it's not taught. Just like, when we talking about man and woman or marriages and things like that, that stuff is not taught. So even learning how to pinpoint a good friend is not taught. We have to learn it. I think back then, when we come to in the times of the literature, these things were taught. They were taught from a youth. I think today a lot of parents they're doing what they know as far as parenthood, what they think if they're not taught. So they're not teaching their children different intricate scenarios and subjects of different subjects on how to operate. And finding a friend is one of them. Because if you get you a good friend, oh my goodness. You know what I'm saying? So I think biblically is a little more strong on how to pinpoint a true friend. I think modernly, it's a free for all. It's a guessing work. It's a flip of the coin. I'm trying to figure it out. And then one last thing I'll say. Sometimes you might find a real good friend, and you yourself are not the real good friend. Let me say that one more time. Sometimes you might have a friend and you yourself are not the good friend because maybe you don't know how to respond or react to something that your friend told you or how they operate with you. Maybe you want a set way, and due to them not doing that set way, we remove them. So it could be a flip side to it. That's just another alternative. I think right now we're in the stage of learning, because I don't think a lot of us as adults, parents, are teaching our children to look at a friend, how to find a friend, and how to teach you how to be a good friend. I don't know if that's a major subject in our households. And with that, I yield. The best, Kathy, what you got? You are mute. Well, I don't think she's muted. Well, let me see. Yeah, we can't hear you. The headset wasn't working for you. I'm gonna pass it to Chief while you get that situated. Chief Prince, what you got?
Okay, my position is in the same vein of what you brought out, and that is that I think there's a distinctive difference.
What the hell is that?
Oh, we hear you now. Whatever you did, we just heard you.
You hear me now?
Okay, we hear you. I don't know what you did, but we. All right.
You want to jump in, sis?
He said you want to jump in?
No, allow Chief to continue.
Okay.
You sure?
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, my position is pretty much in that same vein, that there's a distinct difference with biblical friendship versus modern friendship, and I don't even think it's really hard to tell. I mean, scripturally, look at it this way: the word the word in Hebrew, rabbah, that is usually translated as neighbor, friend. This word is also used for brother, and it's been used for husband in reference to the wife. So you're like, well, how is it that this word that's supposed to be friend, how is it able to transcend these different scenarios textually? It can mean the same thing, just in a different context. And I think it goes back to a very basic concept in the scriptures, and that is everything. And this is along the lines of what Chief had just said. Everything that we dealt with in our with our ancestors, everything was based on covenants.
Okay.
Everything. There was no such thing as operating outside of a covenant. If you were operating outside of the covenant, you were a heathen and you were excommunicated. There wasn't nothing to talk about. So that's why your worship, your word, all of these things were bonded. You were bonded and held to everything. This is the reason why the scriptures teach us that if you don't honor your bond, that's your bond, if you don't honor your word, if you don't honor these things, you know what I'm saying, it could end very badly for you. And now people operated that way. That's why when you look at marriage, that's why marriage was considered sacred, because it is a higher form of a friendship. So that's why divorce was looked at the way that it was looked at, that when you did get divorced, it was not a light thing. It wasn't like, okay, like today, like, well, I get divorced, whatever the case, and then, you move on, I move on. In ancient times, it was that was insanity, because that meant that your word cannot be trusted. Because if you can't even keep your word to remain in a functional YAH-based relationship, how can I trust you in anything else? Because you already showed me that you're willing to throw it all away, that your word is not bond.
Wow.
So with friendship, this is the reason why you have a situation like Dawid and Yehonatan, where they were going to end their lives. They were like, listen, I will put my life on the line for you, bro.
Okay.
I will lay this person down. And Yehonatan was like, yo, I'm ready to just, I'll cast my father away.
For those that's listening, real quick, Salakali, Chief Prince, Yehonatan is Jonathan. Oh. I just want those that's wondering, what is he saying? It's Jonathan. Go ahead.
Okay, and this is right. I mean, and this is how friendships were. This is how covenants were. You look at a situation like Abraham and his nephew Lot, as whatever. There was beef between their company, and Abraham was like, "Listen, we're not going to do that. We're not going to let this situation split us up. No, whatever way you want to go, I'll go the other way. All is well." And when his nephew fell into a very unfortunate situation in the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham got his men together, and they were going to, and they did. They went and laid people down to go and get his nephew. There was an understanding that if we are friends, if we have a covenant and a bond, nothing except death is going to stop me from honoring it.
Right.
You don't see that today.
I got a question, Chief, real quick. You said something about, for those that's listening, I want them to hear what you said. I think you said something about when you come into like a YAH, did you say a YAH field covenant, or what did you say?
Covenant, or what I'm saying, like
YAH base. So is that a distinction to you? You bringing it out? Are you saying now my questioning is, I'm not trying to make a huge distinction, because a covenant is a covenant. Mm-hmm. But do you think a YAH field covenant, because I like your choice of words, is it a difference with covenant versus a YAH based covenant? Is it a difference to you? Okay.
Oh no, absolutely. There's absolutely a difference, because scripturally we're told that the people, that the children of Israel made covenants with other gods.
Okay.
made covenants
Ooh.
with
Yeah.
made covenants with their enemies. I mean, look at the book of Maccabees. After they got their independence, after they got the Greeks up out of their land, what did they do? They went, and it says they went and struck a covenant with the Romans.
I like that. I'm gonna start using that YAH-based covenant. I should have put that in my covenant agreement. I could still edit it now, though.
Right. So that's what. Right. I mean, so that's what. I mean, a covenant is an agreement. I mean, you can agree to anything. I mean, when you sign a record contract, that is a covenant. It's an agreement that you are going to do this, and we are going to pay you this for your services. It's the same thing with prostitution. Man says, here, woman, I have this money. The woman says, good, I'm going to give you this. Every transaction we deal with life is based on an agreement. So we have to make the distinction and say, well, okay, yeah, that's a covenant, but there's a YAH-based covenant or an Ahaya-based covenant. You know what I'm saying? So that we understand that there's always a distinction. Leviticus 4, all throughout tells us what? Constantly tells us to make a distinction between that which is holy and unknown, always making that distinction.
Facts.
So that there's no confusion amongst the nations, so that they don't think that when we're striking covenants that we're talking about the same thing. No, we're not talking about the same thing. So there's that distinction that is made. Even when Abraham made the covenant with the people of the land for the cave of Machpelah, he made an agreement. And in other places in the scriptures where they make an agreement where it's like, okay, they'll make an agreement in the name of their God, but then remember when Jig was like, okay, I'm going to make an agreement, and he's like, and he used a completely different term for the altar where they struck the covenant at. So that we know that, okay, your agreement is what it is. I honor that. But I'm making my covenant in the name of the Most High, and that's how I'm going to move forward. This is how friendships are supposed to be. When we are Yah-centered, if we are Ahaya-centered, if we're Elohim-centered individuals, and the people that we're interacting with have the same, and I'm going to use the term that that Sister Sharon brought out, and that is that we're operating in the same moral code, then all of our interactions have to be based on that covenant. There's no such thing as an Israelite friendship that operates outside of a covenant. There is no such thing. You're either in the covenant and operate within it, or you are in the outer world. That's it. And that's my my take on that particular situation.
All praises. Those of tuning in, if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. YAH Conscious Radio. Well, if it's not YAH Conscious, it is not acceptable. Let's pass the mic to the better.
Chief Zeb should have 1,000 sons. What? What's he talking about?
Who said that?
Memo.
No, that's Miss Ray Memo. Hey, he said it for a reason though. Think about it. Remember, you the one told me, she was like, man, back in the day, the men, they wanted multiple because you just never know if your son going, so if you got 1,000, that means at least 100 of them might be righteous.
No, trust me when I tell you, if money was not an issue,
I hear that.
There'd be so many Zebs and Zebettes all over the place. Because, but yeah, it's just, of course, it's just being practical, of course. But yeah, I understand what he was saying. Though. That's all praise to the Most High.
For those that's listening, I was directing that to you. You know what I'm saying? That's the good stuff. So, good better, Kathy. What you got?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, and it is me that if you hear that beeping in the back, it's the
Yeah, it happens. We know because I've been through it.
I'm sorry about that.
On my song, I had a song I did, and then a brother of mine by the name of The Real, he was like, I'm not singing on that. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you have the beep in the back. I said, what are you talking about? Then once I heard it, like, I turn it off. Go ahead, it happens.
Wow, this is a deep question. It's deep. I think it's really deep for females, because females automatically feel that because you're a female, you have a special bond with a female. But me, myself, I define a friend that is a person that will hold me accountable in my wrongdoing. will tell me that I'm wrong. I don't want a feel good friend. You know, I actually don't have those type of friends. I don't have those type of friends where I can choose where I want to be right today. I'm going to call this person. You got to be 100% with me. And the other thing, Sharon is actually like my new, like a new friend in my life, a new platform in my life, and her sisters and her siblings in the congregation. My best friends are the people that I grew up with. And I learned early on that it probably was in my best interest to keep it that way. And it kind of go along the lines of what Chief was trying to explain about the biblical. Because if you guys remember, I was explaining to you some time ago about the community that I grew up in. I grew in an all-Black community. We owned our homes. We had our stores. So it was a different level, a way that, again, I saw my people dealing with each other, the way they allowed their children to deal with each other. I didn't learn that people could be so hurtful and mean until I got older and I started living outside of that close-knit community. Yeah. So, and me being the type of, I'm a nurturer. So I think also you have to learn who you are as a person, because that radiates. You could be a ray of sunshine. The best of people and the worst of people can detect that. They feed on that. Yeah. So you also have to be aware of who has your best interest at heart. But I tread that lightly, that word friend, very, very, very lightly.
I'm with you.
Very lightly. Found myself hurt because of the way I grew up, in an honorable way. I grew up thinking that all people were like that, and they are not. So it's okay. I just have to pull back, and now I have to. I know my limits dealing with people, and I respect that, and I make them respect that. But you can't call everyone friend. So yes, there is a significant difference to me. Because again, you could be brought up in a community that has it no other way. You're gonna respect your neighbor, that child. You're gonna do what you got to do. And those friends grew up with that. That's still an honor code with us. Biblical times, you wouldn't walk past somebody hungry. We walk past people every day asking for something to eat, even if you don't want to give them the money. You walk past a restaurant, you don't want to walk in there and buy them a burger. So yes, it is different. We had different statues at the time than we have now. If a friend don't like what you say, you ain't in agreement with them, as they said on Friday, bye Felicia. So
oh man.
Bye Felicia.
Right. Yeah. It's a big difference, and it's deep. I mean, it's really deep, because you can. I'm surprised you didn't throw this out there. Can you really truly be friends with someone that's not in the understanding? What if that person's living?
Oh, it's coming.
Woof.
Yeah. It's one of the next questions. Yeah. You're going ahead of time. Good man.
Sorry. Okay.
No, we might as well bring it out. Might as well do it. I'm gonna play one more song, but I want her to finish her wisdom. I don't know if you're done with the wisdom yet.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Powerful. This is why I love this platform. We have 4 individuals, very capable of bringing out information that can assist in the progress. I love it. Different perspectives at times. Sometimes we're in agreement in certain perspectives, and it brings it out. All right. So I want to. I'm gonna play a song called "Where the Light At." By another singer. I got to support the singers out there. We're hearing all the hip hop artists. Shout out to all of y'all. But we got to get our shine too. This is a young brother, man. Really, really decent. So here we go. Where the light at? Oh yeah. His name is Amir Yaron, by the way. Yeah. Shout out to Miss Ray Memo.
Till they get exposed, until they wanna know. 14 lose a because 16 now we smoke, 18 now we bang, play me in the game. 20 now we go, it's the process, man. 19 now she pregnant with a baby, 2 kids and she walking around as a single lady. Brother, he was born up in the 80s, but he be living life with the mind of a baby. I don't get the process, but yeah, man, it's the process. The things that we see, grown men care more about the streets, more than they care about this on C. Oh, yeah. Preach the truth unto the liars, cause it's the final hour. One day all these wanting they gon' perish. Put the word in my heart, now spiritually buried. Woman out here, give a body to a man, and no woman really married. Baby girl crying cause she lost her V-card to a man and it's her daddy. Romance spend his last 20 ounces a week before he spend it on his family. I got the word in my head like a tool, fix a problem looking handy. I'm maxing y'all, run a liner. I'm maxing y'all, run a liner. And I know what it is, run a liner. I gotta ask you, run a liner. Run a liner. Keep on asking y'all, run a liner. We need some line, run a liner. I said I need to wait, cause I'm dwelling in dark. Yeah. But we got the light, and we get it from God. Yeah. We get it from God. Transform, I'm renewed, I'm conformed by the ways of my Father. Yeah. I'm stuck in your ways like a trap, but no mouse, I got cheese in the head. No left, you gotta go. Yeah. I speak the truth I see, so you know it's so. You reap what you sow. The seed up in my heart, so I gotta let it grow. The word up in my heart, I gotta let it show. Yeah, yeah. Accept the word into your heart, yeah. And let your light shine for me.
Yes, sir. That was Zamir. For those of you that don't know him, search him out. Go on YouTube. Zamir Yaron. He got some good songs, man. He got some good songs. But we're gonna go ahead with the next part. Welcome to YAH Conscience Radio. For those that's tuning in or that might be watching back later, make sure you subscribe. We need you all to subscribe. All right. Last question. And it goes into what the better Kathy was bringing out when she said, I was surprised y'all didn't bring this out, but we got you. We got you. All right. It says the Hebrew. Now, you know what? One thing before I read it, I was surprised that Chief didn't bring out a man and a woman being friends. But, you know, maybe that's another type of fun.
Yeah, because
that's a whole.
That's a rabbit hole inside of 2 rabbit holes.
Okay. So I like how you did it, but I was like, ooh. Here we go. Does a Hebrew friendship require both parties to be in Towrah? If so, does the friendship end when one party abandons Towrah? If not, what principles guide that friendship if it doesn't end, basically? So I'm going to read it. Go ahead, Chief. You have something to say? He put the finger up.
No, I'm just taking a sip.
Oh, okay.
Because we about to go there.
So I'm gonna read it one more time. You know, everybody that's watching right now, chime in, leave some comments, let us know your thoughts. I will read it. And I'm Salahli. I apologize. Forgive me. I need to tell you for not reading you all's comments, but I will right now because it's a tough one. Does a Hebrew friendship require both parties to be in Towrah? If so, does the friendship end when one party abandons Towrah? If not, what principles guide that friendship? Achot, Geberet Sharon, are you available to answer that?
Hey.
at? Where you at? All right, let's get it.
This is a great question. Because most of my friends growing up in Towrah, and most of my childhood friends, they are not in Towrah. However, they always respected that I was in Towrah, and they always respected that boundary. I'm not a person that is maybe when I was younger, let me put it that way. But in my adulthood, I'm not easily influenced by having a friend that's not in Towrah. For the most part, I always try to find an opportunity to influence them. And for the most part, I have experienced influencing my other friends, whether it be they start celebrating Christmas, whether they be to read more, whether it be to stop eating pork, to uphold a certain dietary law within themselves. So it's I mean, personally for me, it's not a requirement. However, I do understand that it must be a requirement for other people, because other people are easily influenced when their friends are not in Towrah, or if they dwell with other people who do not uphold the same moral code and standards of the Tanakh.
Okay.
But yeah, like I've always had people who, my friends will always say, "Oh, it's your Shabbat, my bad, Shabbat Shalom." Or I've always had some of my friends will be interested in learning about the tassels. I had some of my friends who used to fast with me when it was Yom Kippur, when I was working at my old job. Some of my coworkers used to fast with me throughout that day, out of respect for me first, and then later my faith, or me being the truth. But it was always a certain respect that they had, that they held when it came to me implementing some of the things that we do, as far as observing the Kwadosh days. They would not eat in front of me if it was like unclean food. They would not eat in front of me when it was Yom Kippur, when it was certain Kwadosh days, the Kwadosh day where we supposed to fast. Not supposed to fast, but when we chose to fast, they would not eat. They would fast with me through that day. My boss at work, my managers, they would know that they would have staff meeting on a Shabbat. They know I'm not coming in on a Shabbat, so they will respect that. They will respect for me on every Friday. I had to get off at a certain time because my Shabbat comes in. So it definitely didn't interfere. It really didn't interfere. Actually, it was some of my best friendships, honestly, versus people who are in Towrah. And I'm just, be honest with that.
Yeah. Love it. Was that all your wisdom that you wanted to share with us right now before I come in? I'm gonna come in right behind you.
I do have one more thing to say, but I'm a bypass it because it's a little touchy, and I don't know if we can say these things on this platform as of yet.
All right. Well, look, once we come in, I'm going, hopefully it's our platform. So, we don't got a big following yet. So it's like, ain't nobody gonna ban us, but I'll come in behind you right now. So,
just one more, something I did want to say. I actually had a lot of male friends who was flamboyant. They was of the LGBT community growing up. Childhood, I don't want to say the other word. I'm going to say they were of the LGBT community, and I was able to influence them to change their ways. So I would have to say, like, as I mentioned before, a lot of my friends who wasn't in Towrah was some of the best relationships and some of the best friendships that I did have, because I love knowing the opportunity, and I love knowing that I was able to influence them in a positive way, or to show them a different way of living, or to show them some more insight of how to live, how to do things, and how to live righteously. And sometimes when people are not in Towrah, they are amused. This way of life is very amusing to other folks who do not know the Tanakh. It's very amusing. Very amusing. And that's it.
Okay. I'm gonna come behind you. Get better, Sharon. I'm gonna read something. Devarim, chapter 4, verse 5 through 6. Y'all ready for this? That is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5 through 6. And it says, Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as YAH, Yahweh, some people might say Ahaya, my power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Now we understand the context behind this. I can pull other literature or scripture that shows it going outside of the land for those that might be wondering. But we're going to stop there and keep reading. Keep therefore and do them. I had to put that out there just in case somebody say, yeah. For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and standing and understanding people. Why did I read that? Kabeta Sharon brought out some great points. You'll be amazed, you all. And I see that Miss Ray Memo said my relatives don't even carry that kind of respect. Sister is walking in power. I will say this: the sister is walking in power, Miss Ray, but you're walking in power as well. Don't think just because. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm giving you encouragement as a brother. Keep doing it, because it's gonna be people that's not gonna pay attention. It's a remnant of a remnant. But then, even in the, and I am a student of literature. The authoritative word for me is the Tanakh. It is the thus says the Most High Yah, all of the above. But I am a student in all literature that has a good word. I know there's some princes out there that might be like, man, well, you don't need to even go nowhere else. Well, if that's the case, we don't need to be going to school reading other literature, right? So, with that being said, I'm not gonna go there. Let me stick to this, and I'll go back to it. No, I'm gonna go to it because it's relevant. It's relevant. How many of you all will come into this walk? I'm gonna remove Gebert Sharon out of this because she was born in this walk. Well, come into this walk and you have a past, and you have family members that would kind of speak only in that past. They don't look at what you've become, and they say this is what you was. It's a certain portion within a certain literature that says that a prophet is not a prophet in his own city. I'm gonna say that for those that might not know. So I'm just gonna say that without saying what it is. But those that do know what I'm quoting from.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that that's not true. With that being said, that's just wisdom, period. And we see that. For those that's coming to this truth, we have relatives that are like, well, you used to be this. Why are you doing this? But watch this. You can sit up here and meet friends that's what Gebert Sharon said, outside of this walk, that'll take heed to you, that'll sit up here and come around Chief Shema or Morris Shema, whatever y'all want to call me, Shema, and say, and be cussing and be like, oh, my bad. I'm like, dude, why are you apologizing to me? They literally, I have pastors that I'll be around and be like, I'm sorry. I'm like, why are you saying you're sorry? Why are they saying that? I just read it in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 5 through 6. You will be a light to the nations. Now, I might be going a little bit off a topic, but I'm trying to go and not elaborate, but add into what that powerful message Gebera brought through. She born in this, but one of her closest friends are not in this. But what do? They make sure they respect what she's doing. I have those type of people too. I got a dude that's not even Hebrew, but when he talked to me, he be like, what up? You know what I'm saying? Knows I don't keep this stuff. So let's go into the topic. Does a Hebrew friendship require both parties to be in Towrah? In regards to this question, since it says, does a Hebrew friendship and not just a friendship, I would say yes. as far as this question, it says, does a Hebrew friendship? It doesn't just say does a friendship. So I'm going to stay in context. So does a Hebrew friendship require both parties to be in Towrah? Cain, it does. Whether you are Tanakh only or whether you are Tanakh and New Testament. Because the foundation.
I definitely read that question wrong. Okay.
No. You needed to bring yours out though, because we need that. That's why I told you this platform is amazing, because we all bring out different points that applies. Your point was perfect, in my opinion. Perfect. We needed that, because if you would have went this route that I'm going, then somebody that's watching, you know what I'm saying, they might have been having the same question that you brought out. I think it was amazing what you did. All praises to the Most High. So, does a Hebrew friendship require both parties to be in Towrah? I would say Cain, because influence is big. Gaber Sharon brought out an excellent point. I think that a lot of communities, like when you think of Chinese people, when you think of Indians, when you think of these type of Eastern type of cultures where they're kind of strict on how they move with their children and they don't want them to do certain things. A lot of times it is because, you know, your youth is the pivotal point, or the point where you can get influenced the most. So let's put this as ethics of the father say, and I hope I'm not taking from Chief when I bring this out, putting this fence around you to guard you. The Towrah is a fence. This is something Chief Prince brought out to me as he spoke with me. You know what I'm saying? You know, the elders that I have, the teachers I have, they always bring out something that I might have knew or said, but they add to it and make it either solidify it or make it to where it's like, work more on that, or just magnify it. And that, when he said that, I'm like, dude, that is amazing, because the Torah is the fence for us. These instructions are the fence for us. So the basis of these parents that put in place and make sure, okay, I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to do this, you make sure you don't have this friend because this is blah blah blah, is a set of tone. But then you have someone like Gabetta Sharon, and I'm sure she probably had what I just brought out, but then when she got older, you ever been a parent or had a parent to where they were stricter when you was younger, but then when you got older, they didn't have to have that strict portion on you anymore? Is because it was the building block. Now, like Gabetta Sharon brought out, her older age, she can't be influenced like that. She's solid. That's what it was. So does a Hebrew friendship require both parties in Towrah? I believe, especially in the youth, when you get older, you have a certain level of understanding, a certain your house is built. The other literature say on sand, and it's not built on sand, and it's solid, can't be moved. Oh yeah, cool. I could get around atheists right now. They can't move me. They can't move me. Will I say they're my friend? I would say they're more so associate. If they brought out friend qualities, okay, I could see it. But I'd probably be more trustworthy with a Hebrew that shows great character, integrity, all the other stuff. But I could still be friends with somebody outside of it, in my opinion. Hopefully I'm not going against the literature when I say that. Second part, it says, if so, does the friendship end when one party abandons Towrah? I would say Cain. And I'm not going against Gabetta Sharon when I say this, because according to her friends, and I can attest to her because I got friends like that too, they respect me when it comes to my walk, as she said. So if you respect me as far as my walk, how I move with the Most High Yah, cool. Once you break that, then it's a pullback. If not, what principles guide that friendship? I answered the question. So I'm going to pass the mic to, I don't know if anyone wanted to comment on what I said, but if not, I want to pass it to Gabetta Kathy.
Hold on. My sister and I must need to get our glasses checked because I was looking at the question the same way. You know, I try to be a little bit prepared beforehand, but that's okay.
No, it was a
Right,
good look.
sis. You know I need
Y'all looked at
glasses.
it perfect. Y'all looked at
Today confirmed it for real.
Well,
Right.
those are other topics. Gabetta Sharon, that's other topic. But as far as what you're doing right now, you was perfect. You and Gabetta Kathy, perfect. I promise you.
Wow.
We needed you all's take. Trust me.
I actually need to present a question before I can answer this question because I mean,
Send it to Chief Prince, not me.
I mean, because Moray, you said you agreed that you know they had to be, you know, in the understanding together to have a friendship, but we have congregations that can't even get together.
What I mean when I say that is this. I'm glad you brought that out. See, this
But
is
but you have you have two congregations that are in the Towrah.
okay.
Some congregations have certain different opinions, but for whatever reason, it keeps them from coming together. And we're talking about a friendship, and I think the friendship part of it is the most smallest part of that. So it's like I agree, but then I disagree because then I see the most important part of it, us not being able to even get together and be friends or come to some sort of understanding on certain things. Like we would rather just argue and bicker with each other or point out that congregation or this leader or that leader.
So that's the problem. The problem, to answer your question, because I know you didn't ask a question completely, but I know where you're going with it. Here's a difference with the thing you brought out, in my opinion. And you tell me what you think, and I'm passing the mic right back to you. The difference is you have a congregation talking about a whole bunch of different subjects, different doctrines. Friendship is very smaller than that. You have a respect. It's a respect, integrity, and to be consistent. Boom, very simple. When you go to the congregation or different congregations, it's a whole bunch of plethora of doctrines and topics in the Bible. So that's why I'm with Gaberet Sharon when she said her friends that's not in the truth just respects the foundation. What's the basis of our foundation as Israelites? We have a dietary law that we keep. We should serve the Most High Yah as far as things to tell, dealing with what we shouldn't do, and we should not put nothing before them and just love our people. Those are the very simple things. And when you take away the Bible, those are the simple things with friendship. So the example you brought out, I think I could be wrong. I allow everybody else to speak, but I want you to continue. Those are a lot of doctrines. Okay, how should the friendships be? Okay, this says this. We can't speak Hebrew. Oh, we can't do this. Oh, we don't go through that. I'm passing the mic right back to you. But that's my answer to the question that you brought up.
Okay. And again, I appreciate that. I guess I'm looking at it as the question is, does a Hebrew friendship require both parties to be in the Towrah? Mm-hmm. When we walk in that building, wherever we congregate together, we are all supposed to be in the Towrah. Mm-hmm. And there's certain laws and statutes and state it shouldn't be questionable. But again, there are. So again, we're asking, do we have to be in the Towrah to have a friendship? I'm going to say no. Again, I agree with my sister because those friends that I was telling you guys about, they respect the fact I don't celebrate Christmas anymore, Thanksgiving. My family's from Virginia. I don't travel that 250 miles anymore, 6 hours down 95 to make those holidays. It was me being consistent. And I would like to think to see that they saw a change, that you can be an influence, that everyone's not going to be in the Towrah. For my family to come to me and say, yeah, you definitely on the right path, that felt good. But I just think I don't know. I just think that's not that. To say, do the friends have to be in the Towrah? That's like you said, a lower level. But then you're talking about a higher level. Mm-hmm. I just think at the higher level, we should be able to come together. Most importantly, friendship, like you said, is a very, very small part of it. Can you remain friends, as we talked about before, depending on what that brother and sister did? If they just chose to leave because they wanted to leave, that's something different, maybe, depending on what type of lifestyle they move on to have. Did they commit a crime within the congregation among another individual there? You know, it's a lot of different variables involved. Did they disrespect the elder? There's a lot of different variables involved that would make you say, no, I will not deal with you, and we should not deal with you. And then if somebody just say if the leader, they found out the leader just wasn't right, they left. It doesn't mean that they actually left Towrah. They left that congregation, that particular community. So would you still communicate with them? That's my take.
I want to ask you, I want to throw a curveball at you all. I want the Nashim to answer, if possible. Not if possible, you all are way more possible, or able to. But after that, Pastor the Chief Prince, to close out the question. The curveball is this. And hopefully I'm not saying nothing that opposes you all's thoughts. And if so, Slackley. And I say that for a reason. So, does anyone know what the word Towrah means? And this is not to, question anything. I'm just going to say it. So, Towrah is simply instructions, right? I make a I differentiate, and some people might not agree with this stance that I have. Towrah law and Towrah. When you go into Mishlei or Tefillim, or when you go into Sirach, or you go anywhere, or you go into your home, you got children, you go to your job, anyway, it's instructions. So when I hear the word Towrah, it's a little different from how most of people within our community hear the word Towrah. I understand Towrah is the first 5 for people, but then we all go with the prophets, we all go with the writings, and some of us go with the Apocrypha or Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, which those are instructions as well. So when I listen to like what you all speak on with the friends and things like that, instructions is something just to understand how to move according to what it might, whatever the subject is. So if I have a friend, my friend should understand how I move. It doesn't even have to be like, hey, you need to do this, or it can be, hey, I just want you to know this is how I operate, blah, 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 blah. You see in the scripture sometimes in the Tanakh, it says something about, I gotta find, I should have had it available, but I didn't feel I needed to bring this out. But it might speak on obeying the Torah. When I pass as the Chief Prince, I'm going to find it, but it's not within the Torah when it's talking. It's literally just talking about instruction. You know what I'm saying? So my question to you all is more so, all praises, good better. I see you. Is more so to understand Hebraically, and I'm okay with being corrected. Those that's listening, if you have any comments, thoughts, let me know. And those that's on the panel, when we look at the word Torah or Torot, Torah is instruction, Torot is instructions. When we just look at the word, it's outside of the Bible. Am I wrong, Chief Prince? It's outside of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? When you get married, your husband or your ish has certain instructions for the family. You as the isha might have certain instructions for the strength that you have in the family that the ish might not have, or for the children, whatever. That's outside of the Bible. That's the only thing that Torah is, you all. But we have Torah law, that I call it, my own doctrine. So my question to you all is, with that extra information that I just gave, I'm not saying it's facts or false. I believe it is facts, but it could be false. With that understanding of instructions, is it possible that when we say Towrah, and I'm saying this for the people, matter of fact, I'm not even saying it for you all. I'm saying it for the viewers, and for the viewers that might be Israelites or big believers in the Bible. I'm not even talking to you all. I'm talking to those that has no I'm talking to you all that might not have this understanding that's listening, because some people are afraid of the word Torah. I have ran into people that's afraid of the word Torah. Oh, you doing what that Torah is? And I'm like, you don't understand that you give your children Torah all the time, or Torah all the time. It's the same thing. You live in United States that has more Torah than the freaking Bible. Did you know that? Not to add to the jobs you work at. So we all are keeping or not keeping Torah in some way. All praises. So I'm gonna pass it to the Nashim, if you have anything to add to what I said before we pass to the chief priest. All good. Gabetta Sharon, did you have anything before we pass to the chief priest?
Sleeka, say that again.
I was just asking if you had anything before I pass to the chief priest.
No, not really. I did want to bring some more insight on the second part of the question. If so, does the friendship end when one party abandons Torah?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to add, I did have some friends where they just kept overstepping their boundaries, but not intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. They would keep sending me Merry Christmas text, or
I got you.
they would keep saying Happy Thanksgiving, or it's I found myself with a few of those friends who just couldn't retain the mere fact that I was that I did have a different faith than them. But was that a deal breaker? Not necessarily, but if I noticed that it was consistently and you're not even trying to retain that I don't do this, then yeah, it is. It could be Cain. But that's it.
See, this is what I'm talking about. That was powerful. Chief Prince, before I pass it to you, what she just said, it's like, okay, this is not major, but then it starts to become, because now you're just not showing me any respect. It's been 3 years, bruh.
Right.
4 years.
Right. It's not like it's been 8 months or 3 months. It's been like 5 years passed and you still, still talking about Merry Christmas and hey, what you doing Saturday morning, or things like that. I'm like, yeah, this like, okay, man, it's a little bit too much now.
Gabetta, why? Tell me this. I love I love my Sapta or my Sapta to life. She finally called me Shema the other day. I have been Shema legally since it's 2022, since 2019, but lawfully I've been Shema for about 8 years. And she finally called me Shema. She's like, baby, you've been Lavelle since you was born. I'm like, but you not even trying. But she finally said, okay. I paused during the conversation, like, wait, did you just say something? She said, yeah. And that's the post I posted on Facebook when I was like, my grandma read the new book I'll be releasing soon. And she was like, Shema, I said, wait, what? What you just called me? So, all right, Chief Prince, I'm passing to you. Pass you the mic. So, the question. I'll read it. It's your question. So, does a Hebrew friendship require both parties to be in Torah? If so, does the friendship end when one party abandons Torah? If not, what principles guides the friendship or guide that friendship?
Yeah, I posed this question, and obviously worded it very specifically, because one of the things with me is that I'm very big, and you know this about me, Chief. I'm very big on being, on clarity, of being very careful with my words, being very circumspect in the things that I utter out of my mouth because we understand that words are power. So when you say certain things, this is the reason why they talk the whole thing about, casting a spell on you or whatever. Words have power, and you have to be very careful how you use these things. This is one of the reasons why I make a distinction between family and relatives. Because what you realize is that we can be related and not have any familial ties. Think about it. I have second and third cousins that live somewhere in Druryville, Virginia. They're blood relatives. We have the same exact DNA. I don't know anything about these people. and they know nothing about me. We just connected on Ancestry. It's like, oh, okay, you're the cousin of my great grandfather. Oh, okay, cool. But there's nothing there other than the blood relation. So would it be accurate for me to say that this is my family? It would not. They are my relatives. Now, family will come along depending on how we begin to interact with each other in the confines of that being related. And this is what, like with me, like I've been in this particular part of the walk in Towrah since 93.
Whew.
I've been Zebulon, but for them, Zebulon since 1993.
Wow.
None of my relatives call me Zebulon. Now, keep in mind that I'll be 47 this year. 30 years of that 47, I've been Zebulon. And then 5 or 6 years prior to that, I had an Islamic name.
Okay.
I haven't celebrated Christmas since 1986.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm still getting, hey, Merry Christmas. Why? But
I'm sorry, y'all. This is hilarious.
But the thing is, I don't knock them because I understand, and you spoke about this earlier. I understand this is what you know me as.
Right.
But the fact that they know me as that and have not made the transition over 3.5 decades, whatever, it tells me a couple of things. The main thing is they don't care.
Facts.
Because I know you as James. I know you as, when you were 5 years old, I know you as Boogie. That was my nickname. You were Boogie to me. And I'm like, well, that was when I was 5. I'm 47 now. You don't think and I come to accept the fact that they don't care, not because they're being mean, but because who I am now, it doesn't mesh with what they remember. And I get it. And so that's why I don't get mad with them.
Chief, hold on. He said, man, folks still call me by my name I used when I was in the gang.
Yeah, I mean, but that's when that's when you realize that people, they know you and deal with you how they choose to remember you. That's because that's their point of reference. Abraham had to leave his father's house because the 74 years prior, I mean, remember, his father, according to the tradition, his father, Towrah, was a dealer in idols. He sold idols for a living. That was the family business. And then Abraham wakes up one day. Well, I'm going to say wakes up one day because there's another tradition with that. But Abraham gets to a point where he says to his father, I have to go. I have to leave. Why? Because the movements and the life that Abraham was about to embrace and embark upon would not be agreeable with his father's business. Can you imagine Abraham in the house? His father is selling idols, and his father's like, so are you still in the business? And Abraham's like, no, I am not. As a matter of fact, let me set these idols on fire. So there was an understanding of why, lech lecha in Hebrew, why he had to leave his father's house. He said, and Most High said, and go to the land that I will show you. There had to be a separation because the person that you're going to become is not going to be agreeable to most people. Why? Because if it was agreeable, they would be in the same covenant with you. But then I understood that, well, are we confusing friendship? And I forget who said it earlier, but are we confusing friendship with associations and acquaintanceship?
Mm.
And I think that's what's happening. I think we have plenty of like people who when I was working in 9 to 5, who you interact with. These are your associates. These are acquaintanceship, associates, and it's fine. They can respect what you do, and you're like, okay, and there's a mutual respect. But these are not the people that you are going to lay your life down for, because you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't know them like that. They don't represent what I represent. If they did, you know what I'm saying, they would be in it.
That is heavy. He said that's heavy, Chief. That is heavy when you think about it.
So now, mind you, I have, quote unquote, and I'm using that for a reason, I have, quote unquote, friends outside of the covenant, but I don't call them friends.
Likewise.
I call them exactly what they are: close associates, acquaintances, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's because think about it. Do we not do that on Facebook? It doesn't say when you go to accept a person's friend request, it doesn't give you the option of friend, associate, and so on and so forth. It says friends. Can you honestly say that you have 12,000 friends?
Nope.
Even though they might respect you and they get all that good stuff. That's all great stuff, no question. And I understand that because I got people who I'm very close with, but we're close on a different level. On Pesach, I cannot invite them because they are not circumcised. No, they can't. And so there's a distinction that we're told to make with our interactions with people, and to keep them in the position that they're in. When Abraham made the covenant with the people of the land, there was no disrespect. There was a mutual respect. They did business, all was well. But at the end of the day, Abraham understood that, well, this was a different covenant. Our covenant with the Most High and the people who are under that same banner can never be the covenant that we would have with people who are outside of the covenant. There's a reason why they're outside of the covenant. So I think that sometimes, like, at least with me, I'm just going to leave it at that I think that that in the past, like with me, I've had a tendency to confuse close associations, with friendships. And it's like, well, again, if we are Hebrews, and now I'm shifting back to the original premise of the question. If we are Hebrews, is the Torah a requirement for us to be in a friendship? If we're Hebrews, like we know who we are, is the Torah a requirement? And it's absolutely, because what other possible relationship could we have? Muslims will tell you, and as an ex-Muslim, they'll tell you that, yes, they're friendly with a lot of people, but they'll tell you that, well, you know what I'm saying, you are not my ak. This is what they'll say. You're not, because do you bow to the will of their deity? Okay. No, you do not make salat. You do not make zakat. You will not make your circuits around the Kaaba in Mecca. You're not going to Mecca with me. So how close can we really be? In the most essential parts of our nature, I can't share with you, because you don't get it. If you did, you'd be in the covenant, but you're not. So the most important part to me, and this goes even to marriage, the most important part of who you are and your soul, can you share with these people? And I mean share it to where there is a reciprocal, they understand, and you're going back and forth in the book. You cannot, because if you could, they would be in the covenant with you. So for me, I don't judge them by those standards because I understand they're not in the covenant. So how can I judge them by those same standards? What I do is, like the question says, I use basic principles to deal with people outside the covenant. Like, hey, listen, mutual respect. I don't disrespect you. You don't disrespect me. I speak to you a certain way. We speak a certain way, whatever. Even if we walk away and we have no agreement on anything, but our interactions, our associations, our acquaintanceship is going to be based on basic principles. But I cannot base it on all of the Torah principles because you're not in that lane. How could you be? And that's kind of how and so, if the friend, and if the friendship, does the friendship end when one abandons the Torah? Yeah. Now we can continue to be we can be associates, like, okay, because obviously you're still going to have some type of connection with the person, but there's an understanding that, well, you have abandoned the walk, you are elsewhere, and you bid them, hey, listen, peace be upon you. And I being that you quoted some sources that were not, I'm going to quote a source that, some people might be like, what? But but to this day, it still resonates as true with me.
Okay.
And that is in the, and of course, this is going back to my Islamic days. There is a surah, there is a surah called Al-Kafrun in the Quran. It was one of my favorite surahs when I was in that lane 30 some odd years ago. And in Al-Kafrun, it says, and Al-Kafrun means to the non-believers. And it says, I do not believe what you believe. You do not believe what I believe. I will not believe what you believe. Neither will you believe what I believe. Unto you, your way, and unto me, my way. And this is how, in the Quran, how they dealt with those type of situations where we're not in the same lane. But it doesn't have to be disrespectful. It doesn't have to be like, okay, I don't deal with you, you're a damn, like, no. It just means that, well, I'm going to put you over here, and you are in the associate section. You're in the acquaintance section. And we can continue to have nice dialogue on certain things, but when it comes to the most important part of my essence of who I am, I can no longer share that with you. I mean, think about it. If you get a divorce from your husband, you divorce, y'all are separate, he leaves or whatever, you leave, whatever the case may be, do you still have sex with your ex-husband?
That's a good point.
Do you share your body with this person after you've separated? I mean, Towrah tells us that we can't, that there is no, especially if you've already moved on with something, if we are divorced, we're not doing the things that spouses do because you're no longer my spouse. You're not going to do certain things with me, and I'm not going to do certain things with you because we're not in that space anymore. And to do otherwise, it would be like, well, if we're going to do it, then why are we divorced again? We should have just stayed in the same lane. So we understand these analogies with marriage. We understand it with a job. You leave a job, the job that you're at, you quit, you leave. Do they still have to pay you? Are you still an employee? No, the relationship has changed. Nothing personal, but we don't pay you anymore. You don't get a paycheck from us anymore because you left. They don't owe you money. The relationship changes. And so that's kind of how I viewed, like, with Hebrew friendships. And I'm being very specific when I say Hebrew friendships, not people outside who are very good people and we have that's cool. That's, but I'm talking about those of us who are in the Torah who say, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, Torah is my life, all praise the Most High, praise Christ, all of that good stuff. If that person says, yeah, I'm not dealing with that no more. Okay. The relationship has changed. It can't possibly be the same anymore. Because if I say, like the sister said, if I'm going to fast on Yom Kippurim, and that person's like, oh, you fasted? Oh, yeah. Like, oh, okay. And and they go eat some Burger King, you're like, well, okay, so then I can't share that element with you. We can't have a discussion about the importance of the fasting, and so that we can prep to receive the redemption that the Most High offers us throughout the year. I can't talk to you about that because you've already made a conscious decision to walk away from it. And we can go into many other examples, but I think the point, that's how I view it. So I make sure that I keep people in their lane. So if they are outside of the Torah, that's fine. We can have a deal. We can interact the same way that Abraham dealt with the people of the nations. Like, hey, it's all, you know what I'm saying? It's all friendship. It's all friendly. No problems. But you're not over here with it. So I'm going to treat you with a different type of covenant. So I just think that, you know, that we have to get back to a point where our interactions with people, it has to be on the level of what the Torah instructs us to be on. Doesn't mean that you have to be mean to people. You don't have to raise nothing. It just means that, hey, I'm over here with it. I'm over here with it. And you're over there with it. You know what I'm saying? And we can continue to talk about rap music. We can talk about BET and politics, whatever like that. But in the most important part of my existence and who I am, you have no more access to it because you've relinquished it.
Okay, Kol Shabachim, all praises. Amazing. Those that's tuning in, welcome to YAH Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not YAH Conscience, it is not acceptable. You're not going to get topics like these and the different opinions and thoughts and wisdoms that the Most High has allowed to be on this platform. You might, but right now, you're not. No, I'm playing. So, did anyone have anything to add before we close out with our last song? This was a great topic tonight. Appreciate you, Chief Prince, for bringing us out. Again, every week, each one of the panelists brings some phenomenal topics that we dealing with as a community. We're trying to bring forth structure, integrity, success when dealing with our people, man. So if you all have any thoughts or any additions that you might want us to discuss, email us at yahconsciousradio@gmail.com. Again, email us at yahconsciousradio@gmail.com, and we will, listen to you all's comments or anything you might want us to add or talk about and implement it in the process. Question for those that's listening: do you all want me to close out with some Hebrew, like Hebrew music? I mean, like speaking Hebrew. I need medabek tzadibrit, or do you want to listen to some, Hebrews that speak English? And that's okay too. That's amazing. Nobody said anything, so I'm going to play some Hebrew that speaks Hebrew by a brother by the name of Ben Blackwell. And we're going to close out with this. And we appreciate all of you that's tuning in, man. Shout out to Miss Ray Memo. Man, we appreciate you, man. Also, shout out to Curtis Montgomery. Man, why don't I remember your Hebrew name? I know. What was your Hebrew name?
Didn't it start with a CH, I believe? Was it Chaim?
Chaim. There you go. See, man, look, Chief Prince got. So shout out to Chaim. Curtis, we got you, man. How do you remember that, man? You're a historian, though. That's what you do. Shout out. Yeah, he got it. Chaim. Yep, he said it. Appreciate you all, man. Y'all been here for a few weeks, man. We love you, man. We truly love you for supporting us. Please share the platform, because I think people that's in the truth and out the truth will learn from this. We're gonna have a lot of topics that for so-called Black people that don't want to be an Israelite, this can still help you. You know what I'm saying? I got children. I got 2 children, 13 and 6. I tell my daughter, I'm gonna play the last song, but I'm being transparent with y'all, man. I learned this from Gabetta Kathy. To be just transparent, man. Y'all gonna either like it, you're gonna love it, and you're gonna respect me for being that with you all, because I hope that you can relate to us. That's what we do. My daughter 13, my son 6, and it's like, look, you're going to get a lot of individuals that are going to understand the walk and or not going to understand the walk. But I got to teach you to survive in this world more so. My daughter, I pray and hope, and I told her this, I said, like, I pray and hope that you follow this path wholeheartedly. I pray and hope that you follow this path, but I do understand that, she's in a different lifestyle than I am. And all I could do is just pour into her at least the principles of the Tanakh and put her in a place to where she's going to surpass her friends. And the beautiful thing, like I call Sharon or go better Sharon, being raised in it and things of that nature, being around it, I plan to implement that as much as possible when she's around me and just being around other children that are following this path. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. We'll see. Beautiful soul, man. Maybe one day I'll show you all have my children in the background like Chief Prince. But anywho, I'm gonna play Ben Blackwell song right now. Hopefully you all like it. Check him out on YouTube. Ben Ben Black like Black Whale. All right, let me go to it right now. I don't know what just took place. YAH Conscious Radio. And this is one of my favorite songs. You all heard it already. I played it a couple times. Kadima. Go, go, go.
That's a good song.
When it goes, in another one.
Y'all see he's speaking English too.
Yeah, and it goes. כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך
זה עברי ואנגלית.
כמה זמן נפלתי כדי לחיות ברמה שלה קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go קדימה די עזבי אותי קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר נו כבר קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go קדימה די עזבי אותי קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר נו כבר לכי ממי אני לא נושם כבר נפלתי לא יכול יותר אני לא מחפש לריב נמאס לי כבר יאללה ביי קדימה צילי מחיי משקיע את כל מה שיש בתוך הלב מרוויח עולם שצער והרבה כאב מרחם עלייך כי הגלגל לא תסתובב הגלגל לא תסתובב זוכר את הלילות, זוכר את המילים שגרמו למריבות זוכר את השקרים שהתחפשו כהבטחות זוכר שלבד גם אפשר לחיות אבל עזבי שטויות בינתיים פה יושב מוחק את העבר המערכת יחסים הפכה עבר וזה בסדר מצידי כל עוד האש בוערת לא ירד שלג בליבי ביי היה פעם קשר רציני עכשיו הקשר רק מזיק כי הקשר לא בריא לאהבה אין צומי בשבילי עד שמצאתי אהבה כבר איבדתי את עצמי ניסינו מיליון פעם ולא עבר ליבך כבר לא נמצא אצלי ביד כן לא האמנתי מההתחלה הגעתי לטוב באוטו שלי לבד One time. F-A-M-O. כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך וכמה זמן נפלתי כדי לחיות ברמה שלה קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go קדימה די עזבי אותי קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר נו כבר קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go קדימה די עזבי אותי קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר נו כבר לכי ממי אני לא נושם כבר נפלתי לא יכול יותר אני לא מחפש לריב נמאס לי כבר יאללה ביי קדימה צילי מחיי תגידי כמה פעמים כבר ניהלנו את השיחה הזו, לא זוכר. וכמה פעמים כבר נכנסנו לפינה הזו, וואלה לא סופר. המבוי סתום, כבר ניסינו הכל ולא השגנו מאום. הכביש חסום, לא יעזור כלום, איתנו זה תמיד נגמר בבום. הלכנו לסרט ושתק כל הדרך, את לא מדברת גם בארוחת ערב, כל כך רחוקה ומנוכרת, זה ככה כבר חצי שנה בערך, אני לא קולט מה שאת משדרת, אולי פשוט כדאי שנשחרר, נעזוב הכל ונוותר, מה שהיה כבר לא יהיה יותר, בואי נעצור לפני שזה מתדרדר, שיהיה לפחות נעים להיזכר. הזמנים שהיה לנו טוב, לפני שהכל התחיל לכאוב, חשבנו שנהיה ביחד עד הסוף, עד הסוף. בזמנים שהרגשנו אני רואה את המבט בעינייך, מותק להמשיך לא כדאי בי, אבל או אולי הגיע הזמן לומר לך ביי.
כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך, וכמה זמן נפלתי, כמה זמן כדי לחיות ברמה שלה. קדימה, 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 די עזבי אותי, קדימה, קדימה, את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר, לא כבר, קדימה, 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 די עזבי אותי, קדימה, קדימה, את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר, לא כבר, לכי ממי, אני לא נושם, כבר נפלתי, לא יכול יותר, אני לא מחפש לריב, נמאס לי כבר, יאללה ביי, קדימה צילי מחיי, פאפאי, 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 קדימה, קדימה, פאפאי, 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 קדימה, קדימה.
Hey, so real quick before, man, shalom, Antoine. You got to go back. Like you just tuning in now, all praises. We appreciate you. We hope that you go back and what we've been talking about. We're closing out right now. Before I close out, Meme, wow. It's Ray Memo. Wow. It's Ray Memo. Ask me this question. You on the road right now? And if you're on the road, please, Rebecca Shaw, be safe. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But I do want to know, are you on the road right now? He a truck driver, man. He does a lot for the community. He is a prayer warrior. So if you all need prayer, let us know, because he memorizes names, dates, where you live, where you're from. This man is amazing. He said he's not. Okay, cool. All praise to you that's tuning in. Make sure you tune in and subscribe to YAH Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not YAH Conscious, it's not acceptable. We appreciate you. We love you. Every week we're going to be bringing topics. And if you have any topics you want us to add, we will do it. We got some phenomenal panelists. Kabeta Kathy, Kabeta Sharon, Chief Prince Abullah. I just love it, man. I love all you all on the platform. I love all of you all that's tuning in. All praises. Any closing remarks before I close this out? Anybody? Anyone?
To YAH goes the glory.
All praises, all praises. Shalom to you all, man. Y'all be safe and you have a wonderful night, man. The Most High bless you. Yabarecha, Yahweh will yishmerecha.
Okay. Hallelujah.
Or I should say, Yabarechim, Yahweh yishmerechem. That's plural. All praises.
Well,
Come on, teacher.
We'll get to that.
Shalom. All praises.